All right, guys, got a request for a Solana astrology update, so here we go. Definitely subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. We'll be coming out with a lot more Solana astrology videos as well as Bitcoin astrology. Welcome back to the Crypto Astro Paradise. If you're new here, I do technical analysis and run an astrology birth chart for Solana and see if the astrology correlates with the TA. I'll give my Solana predictions at the end, but none of this content is financial or investment advice. This content is intended for entertainment purposes only. Now, here's the Solana chart. We have this trend line that was holding for quite a long time. We bounced off in January of this year, and then again in April. We bounced again, I guess 2 times in April. We bounced again in May, and now we just broke through this big trend line. So definitely some bearish action here. We got this downward trend. We're definitely, we broke down below this 50% level. I'll talk about next levels of support. We could talk about that. But first off, let's look at my previous videos where I warned you guys about this particular area here, this downtrend. All right. And if you're skeptical about astrology, Solana astrology, crypto astrology, take a look at this. I warned you guys earlier this month. Take a look at this. So Saturn is conjuncting the Solana Neptune. That already happened on May 30th. This is very bearish, and it's going to be in effect all the way through July. So quite concerning. That's potentially one reason Solana has not gone up, in the last few weeks very much. I mean, it has gone up, but this is likely dampering any major pumps. All right, so be very aware of that. The good news is that. All right, so this was back in early June. So I was telling you there's gonna be major price dampening, and yeah, we have gone down since then. This negative astrology has been a major dampener to the Solana price. Let's zoom in a bit, but first off, let's zoom out. So I warned you guys also about this gravestone doji where we got this massive pump on the 2-month candle, and then we fell back down. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. There we go. And if you look at that, just that massive candle right there, we just pumped all the way up here to the high for this cycle so far, 208. And then we fell all the way back to this level, just about where we're at right now, about 127, 126. That's very interesting. So this is very significant. So that's where we're at right now. So we want to close above this level of support where we got that gravestone doji around 127. Last week we closed a little bit above it, but it's getting really close. We want to continue to close the next week. And most importantly, we want to close the next month above that level. We are right there. So we're super, super close. Perhaps we close the month at this level. But if we go down, that's looking more bearish. All right. And if we look at the daily, we've just been on this downtrend for such a long time here. Well, ever since May 21st. Okay. And let me know in the comments what questions y'all have. I might be able to answer some in the time that I have available. I always like to look at Solana versus Bitcoin. Let's see how it's holding up. It's still holding up decently well. It's still holding up above this macro 50% level here. We could go down and visit this level again with the Solana versus Bitcoin. Okay, I mean, it's definitely bearish right now in the short term. We want to see a bounce in the next couple weeks. Wow, take a look at this, guys. This is live. Bitcoin is now at 60K right now. If we zoom in here, wow, Bitcoin is dumping pretty hard. All right, we're at this critical level around 60,000. Looks like we've already dipped a little bit below to 59,894. All right, looks like Bitcoin could be heading down. We're at 59,995. We are not getting a bounce so far. So this is probably going to affect altcoins as well. We will see. Or is the Bitcoin dominance going to go way down and our altcoins going to start to outperform? It's tough to say. It's tough to say. The Bitcoin astrology is weak right now, but also Solana might have a rebound in July, and I'll tell you more about that based on the Solana astrology. But so far, it's looking fairly weak. I mean, Solana went down to 122, and we're holding fairly strong right now, given where Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is keep continuing to dump. So I'll have to keep my eyes on this for the next days and weeks. But definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Be coming out with more Bitcoin astrology videos. I mean, this is a major turning point in the markets, and I can help you get more clarity on which direction we're possibly going with astrology, something that most traders do not even look at. It does take a lot of advanced analysis and astrology experience to read this information properly. So it's not just your average Joe that can do this, but that's what I'm here for, reading the astrology. I've studied the astrology all the way back in the history books of Bitcoin, all the way back to 2009, and I am aware of what correlations there are with the planets and what actually affects the price action. But so far, let's look at the Solana astrology, shall we? It's the main event of today. So we do have this negative transit that I warned you guys about earlier in the month. And this is in effect all the way through. We get another direct hit on July 29th. So this is a major transit. It's Saturn conjuncting the Solana Neptune. Saturn can bring hard lessons in reality and limitations, dumps in the market typically, especially when it's conjuncting Neptune. Saturn and Neptune don't really like each other that much. Neptune can bring a lot of confusion, which can bring negative price action. So we are in the midst of this right now. The good news is we're not getting a direct hit right now. It's just in orb. It's just in effect. We also have this slightly positive transit that's also in effect. But then we also have that's Neptune sextile the Solana Saturn. That's kind of negligible, particularly because it's also squaring the Solana moon, which is slightly negative. Those probably cancel each other out. Let's see what we got for the rest of here. So July, this is good news. This starts to come into effect around June 25th, and we get a direct hit on July 19th. So we are getting this positive hit the second half of July approximately at the same time. So we could see more positive support on the Solana chart in July, particularly around July 19th. Now we are getting a new moon on the 5th. We do get a negative transit on Solana chart. On the 5th, we get Venus opposite the Solana Jupiter. It's not super great. So we might not, we'll probably see continued volatility for the next few weeks. And I can't tell you exactly what the price will be because I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you ballpark what direction we're heading, when there's more volatility, when, like a metaphor of, sailing a ship on a sea. You can see when there's a storm coming. I can tell you guys about that, but you don't know exactly what the outcome is going to be. Okay, so then we're also getting some negative world astrology on the 15th that is concerning in terms of world events. We're getting Mars conjunct Uranus, and they're both conjuncting Algol, which is known as basically the devil fixed star. This can bring unexpected explosive events. Good news is on Solana, it's Mars sextiling the Solana sun, which is very positive. So there's a possibility, if there are any crazy events, that Solana could do fairly well. Perhaps there's a dump, but then maybe there's a pump right after, something along the lines of that. Definite volatility. This is slightly concerning. On the full moon on the 21st, we get 2 negative hits to the Solana chart, which is not looking super great. So yeah, probably continued volatility through July. Let's hope that this main positive transit that we have here holds the Solana price chart up good, or we could get a great buying opportunity. The good news with this really negative transit is we could get a fantastic buying opportunity. It'll be very, very interesting to see how low Solana goes. And let's look at the chart. So far, Solana is holding up above, the levels of support around 120. Historically, that's held pretty solidly, but we could come down and hit 120 again. Are we going to tap it and bounce off of it, or are we going to break through it? If we break through 120, good news is there's still a decent amount of support. I mean, there could be some good support around 111, 112, around there, as that's the 50% level from the all-time high, or the peak of this cycle to the low. And then after that, I mean, the worst case, we could in the worst case, we could head down to 80. And in that case, that would be like a generational wealth buying opportunity, which, if we all have cash on hand, or at least if I have cash on hand, I'm definitely buying that extremely aggressively. Okay. And could we be in an accumulation phase? That could be interesting. This could be a drawn out time for accumulation. Are we going to just be kind of like this for a while? I would be continuing to accumulate, but I do want to wait out maybe the next week or so to see where this is headed, because we are seeing a lot of dumps right now in the markets, and it could continue, especially with the negative transits that we're seeing. I'm also going to keep my eye close on the DXY. The DXY is holding pretty strong right now, and that does not bode well for crypto. If you see this green line here, if we bounce off of that, then that's not good for crypto. We need to break through this green line to get any more, solid runs in crypto. Unfortunately, the DXY is looking strong, the dollar versus the other currencies in the world. So not super good for crypto. That's why we're seeing the dumps happening. So I'm going to be continuing to look at this. Let's see if there's any questions in the comments here. Are we going to have an election rally from October 24th to 25th? That's certainly possible. But not guaranteed. We're going to have to see how the macro markets behave in the coming months. Are we going to see a big dump this summer, potentially July, August? We'll have to see. That's not guaranteed. Or are we going to just mainly see sideways action for a while? And it's going to be a great time for accumulation. I'm going to be dollar cost averaging. How about Ethereum in comparison with the astrology with Solana? Oh, that's a really good question. I'm going to keep that up there. Beautiful question. Yeah, this is something I like to look at on occasion. I haven't been looking super closely, but oops, I don't like when it does that. Looking at it, this is Ethereum versus Solana. So Ethereum's been very weak compared to Solana ever since September, ever since Solana started pumping like crazy. So as you can see, this we're just in this potential accumulation zone, which is with Ethereum versus Solana. Now, could this break out? Could Ethereum break out eventually? I'm not sure, but I would think so, especially with the Ethereum ETF, but it's not guaranteed. Now, I think I also have a chart, Solana versus Ethereum. Yeah, here it is. Now you see the opposite. This is, as you can see, Solana just, ever since Solana's been breaking out versus the US dollar, it's been outperforming Ethereum. Yeah, I mean, it's still looking, it's looking a little weak right now, but overall, the macro Solana versus Ethereum, Solana is outperforming. That doesn't mean it's going to continue to, though. We'll see what happens. If it gets rejected off this 50% level and it continues to head down, then we'll get an Ethereum run. But if Solana goes up and gets a bounce off of this 50% level, then it's just going to be Solana all the way. So I'll be keeping my eye on this. Yeah, this is very, very important, as Solana and Ethereum are very similar technologies. And, you know, arguably Solana is faster and cheaper. So we'll see. Is Solana going to continue to outperform Ethereum, even though Ethereum's been around a whole lot longer? All right, the commenter says, as a whole, I see a run up until August, then dump end of August to December, looking like a black swan. We'll see. Then election hell and end of year. Yeah, it's tough to say. It's tough to say. If the election, you know, sometimes there's a pump after the election, but if something goes horribly wrong, I mean, the astrology is not so great around the election day. So if something crazy happens, you know, that could spook the markets as well. You know, we got to keep our eyes on this. We got to keep looking at this in the upcoming days and weeks and months. All right. And the astrology gives us a basic, you know, kind of overview of what could be coming down the road, but we still got to, you know, keep our eyes on the charts and see what the price action is actually doing. And that's the main thing we look at. And then we use the astrology to help us decipher, you know, ballpark, which direction are we going, and times when there's a lot of volatility, times when it's, you know, time to accumulate, times when potentially it's good time to sell. If you guys paid attention to my channel, I was selling up here a little bit. I was selling about 10, 20% of altcoins because I saw in the astrology of Solana and Render that the astrology is not looking good for June, July. All right, so with Solana and Render be some of the top altcoins, the best performing against Bitcoin, I looked at that and I saw this is probably a good time to take some profits. And now I have the opportunity to buy more back in, and we will see how much further we go down. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be coming out with a lot more Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana videos, and more. All right. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next video.